I'm starting to see something on YouTube, and I'm hoping this isn't real. But I have this vibe that I'm starting to see people who are being homeless for clout, bruh. Like, I'm praying that this isn't like a real thing, but I'm just starting to see this either everybody is becoming homeless or it's just getting crazy out here. But yo, what's up, y'all? This is JayDamage. I'm back again on another video, and y'all come to my videos to see me basically explore through YouTube, watch some videos, and we have fun here. So today we're gonna be doing some reactions. If you are ready to get into this video, go ahead and hit like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's go ahead and jump right into it.
When I think about that time, it feels so horrible. I've tried to live without thinking about it again, because when I do, I feel so terrified that I can't do anything. But for the sake of sharing this story, I'll recall that hellish time one last time. It was 6 years ago when I met a man named Cameron. At first, I thought he was a good person. He ran a flower shop and always carried flowers with him. But when I found out why he liked flowers so much, it was already too late. I started dating him, and every time we met, he gave me a bouquet of flowers. The flowers were always of the best quality. They were all beautiful and carefully selected. One day, as he handed me a bouquet, he picked out a few flowers and broke them. Confused, I asked him why. He said, "They're not pretty. I get angry when I see ugly things." His expression suddenly turned murderous. I was startled by the change in his face and froze. Then he looked at me and said, "Why? You're pretty. Don't worry. I won't break you." As he said this, he grabbed my shoulder. His hand felt unnaturally strong. I remembered how he often did arm exercises with dumbbells when there weren't any customers in the shop. Suddenly, I started to feel scared of him. Seeing the fear on my face, he leaned in and whispered quietly, "All you have to do is stay pretty without withering. So please smile. You look ugly with that frowning expression." Then he smiled brightly again and handed me a bottle of water. "Your skin needs hydration. Drink water," he said. That's when I realized he was a psychopath. Goosebumps covered my skin, and I just...
Something I don't understand is, why do women always find out a dude is a psycho and yet still stay with him? It's like, bruh.
Decided I needed to end things with him immediately. Before our next date, I called two friends, Adam and Jonathan, and asked them to watch me from a distance and to help if anything goes wrong. I explained the situation, and they agreed to help. They waited in their car.
Now, who is these two simps that decide to help this girl? Number one, I ain't helping your ass with nothing. How about you just go break up? Shoot a text, call, break up. Like, what do you mean sit and watch you from afar? What is this, an investigation? Girl, I ain't about to investigate you. You the one who chose this dude. How about
Car near Cameron's house, ready to intervene when I gave them the signal. When I arrived at Cameron's doorstep, I rang the doorbell. He told me to come inside, but I refused to enter. He came to the front door, confused, and asked me what was wrong. That's when I told him we needed to break up. For a moment, he seemed surprised and stood silently for about 5 seconds. Then, with a bitter smile, he said, "When you say that, you look so ugly right now." Slowly, he raised his hands and grabbed my neck. His grip was incredibly strong. "You were such a pretty flower," he said. "Why did you suddenly change? I told you, I didn't want to break your..."
All right, where's the dudes that's supposed to be watching? The simps is on the sideline watching, seeing this girl get choked out, and they just sitting there.
"Neck?" He loosened his grip slightly and whispered softly, "I'll give you one last chance. Do you really want to break up with me, or will you be my flower again?" With a trembling voice, I told him we should break up. Suddenly, he screamed, "I'll kill you!" Grabbing my head with both hands, he started breathing heavily, as if mentally preparing to snap my neck. I screamed for help as loud as I could. At that moment, Adam and Jonathan heard my screams. They ran to me, tackled Cameron to the ground, and
here go these simps. Here go these simps running up and tackling this man, when at the end of the day, she could have avoided this entire thing by just not going to the man's house and breaking up with the man the moment that she seen a problem. Let's continue.
Restrained him while calling the police. Cameron was arrested, and I later learned that he had done the same thing to his ex-girlfriends. One of his ex-girlfriends had her neck snapped, and she barely survived. Cameron had used his wealth to pay her a huge settlement and avoid severe punishment. This time, Cameron went to prison, and I was lucky to escape with my life. 5 years later, I received even more
Cameron in prison strangling them boys now.
horrifying news. A friend of Cameron's
Pause on
contacted me and told me that after he was released from prison, he killed another woman and was
Whoa.
sentenced to life in prison. Apparently, he had found a new girlfriend. One day, they had a fight, and he snapped her neck. Afterward,
I told y'all, man. Women love a dude that's like 1 second away from being crazy. They love a dude that's probably 1 second away from being a serial killer. I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know the female's mind, but for some reason, a woman always want a dude that they know at any second, at a drop of a hat, he can choke them out and beat them damn near to death. It's sickening.
he called his friend crying and said, "I broke a flower." When the police arrived, they found the woman's body in a bathtub full of water, her neck completely broken. Cameron was pouring water over her head and stroking her hair. When I heard that story, I was so shocked that I had to see a psychiatrist for a while. Even now, I often wonder, what would have happened to me if Adam and Jonathan hadn't been there that day? They saved my life, and I will never forget how grateful I am to them.
Moral of the story is, ladies, be careful about who you choose at the end of the day. When you go out there into this world and you choose a mate for yourself, the moment a person starts showing you abusive things or abusive behavior towards women or towards you, just leave. What are you waiting on? It always trips me out when I hear these scenarios of women being in these long relationships getting beat on for years. Like, dude, the moment you see something, leave. There's always a calm before a storm. There's always some type of signs that this person is about to be abusive to you. When you start seeing those signs, get out. But if a person truly isn't abusive to you, don't lie on them. Because, you know, I've been falsely accused of beating on a girl. Never did it though, but yeah.
My name is Nikayla Morales, and today I'll be telling you a story that still haunts me to this very day. I was about 10 to 11 years old. Me and my friends are on a hiking trip to explore the woods. Personally, I wasn't a fan of hiking, but I went along because I wanted to hang out with my friends. At one point, my friend, we'll call her Cassie, and I had to pee, so our friends found a public restroom nearby in the woods that looked pretty abandoned. I, of course, was a bit hesitant at first because it was slightly eerie, but Cass saw me starting to turn back and said, "Would you rather use the porta potty?" Since I would rather die than use one of those, we both reluctantly went inside the bathroom. It was hell. There was trash everywhere, bugs crawling on the walls, and it smelled so bad that we both had to cover our noses. We reluctantly walked to the stalls and each went into one. My stall was somewhat clean looking, but the smell was still terrible. I didn't dare sit on the toilet, so I decided to squat and, do my business. After we were done, we went to wash our hands, but we really didn't want to because the sinks were just as bad as the rest of the bathroom. The sink was stained black and the faucet had mildew all over it. Luckily, I looked in my bag and found some hand sanitizer. But then, as we were using it, we heard the door shut. We both immediately went over to open it, but it was locked. We tried calling out to our friends outside, but they couldn't hear us. Cass started panicking, and I tried my best to calm her down. Not even 2 seconds later, she said she had to puke and ran towards the stalls. I hear the stall door creak open, and then Cass screams at the top of her lungs. I went over to see what was going on, and I found her on the floor, curled into a ball and shaking. I asked what was wrong, but she briefly glanced up at the stall door. I opened the door, and what I saw was so shocking that I fell back onto the ground. Inside the stall was a rotting body, with ants crawling in and out of the toilet and maggots sprouting from the body. Seeing the body was disturbing, but somehow the stench was even more traumatizing. Suddenly, we heard the door unlock. A police officer walked in, but we didn't take time to greet him. We just immediately ran outside. We explained everything we had seen to him, and later they removed the body and took us home. Since the body had no identification, it was buried in an unmarked grave. To this day, I still wonder what happened to that guy and who or what locked the door on us.
Wow. Man, maybe that was a person that was, maybe they was out there one day, they was rushing. They might have been homeless or something. They probably was like, yo, let me just rush in there and use the bathroom right quick. They probably went in there to use the bathroom, and the door must have probably locked on them. And they probably was locked in that bathroom for Lord knows how long. And they probably just messed around and just gave up on life and sat down and just turned into a rotten corpse. Like, that's what I would think from that story. But let's go.
Hi, Wansi. I wanted to share my true story with you. I'm 30 years old now, but this happened when I was around 24. My mom and dad decided to move into a newly built house. The house was the first in a row, followed by another set of about 4 houses. At the end of our row, there was a giant empty space with a large, steep hill. Nothing except extra parking had been built there. This detail will be relevant later. After about a year, my parents ended up separating, and my mom moved out. So it was just me, my dad, and my brother, who was in his last year of college. I had already graduated and was home more often than the two of them. They also had to get up early for school and work, so I would typically be up at night later than them. One night, at around 2 o'clock, I went downstairs to get a glass of water from the kitchen. To avoid disturbing my family, I decided to use my phone as a flashlight instead of turning on the lights. Aside from the glow from my phone, the house was really dark. I knew my dad and brother were both asleep in their beds, but when I reached the first landing, I heard someone running from one end of the kitchen to the living room. It was loud. Our house had an open floor plan, and the hardwood floors amplified any noise. Panicked, I quickly ran the rest of the way down the stairs and turned on the lights, but when I looked around, there was no one there. I was confused, but just shrugged it off, got my water, and went back to bed. That wasn't the only incident. A month or two later, I was home alone. I'd spent the day reading and watching videos until I noticed it was getting late. Around 6 in the evening, I texted my dad and brother, asking when they'd be home. Both replied they'd be working late. I sighed and continued watching YouTube videos in bed to pass the time. Suddenly, I felt my entire bed shake violently.
Whoa.
It wasn't an earthquake. My dresser and bookshelf didn't move. We live near a military base that often does weapons testing, but even that wouldn't have caused my bed to shake so forcefully. Normally, we just hear noise from the base. My bed sits on wooden slats, and those slats have fallen before. But when that happens, you can only feel it if you're sitting on the mattress. This was different. The shaking was visible and could have been seen from anywhere in the room. Freaked out, I called my boyfriend in a panic. To this day, I still don't have an explanation for what happened. The last strange thing that happened before I moved out occurred during the early morning hours. I work at a coffee shop and had to leave around 5 a.m. to open at 5:30. By this time, my stepmom and both of my stepsisters had moved in, so parking in the driveway was crowded. I had to park in the overflow area near the empty space with the steep hill and overgrown bushes. As I was walking to my car, I passed the empty area. Suddenly, I heard someone call my name, clear as day. I stopped and looked to my left, but I didn't see anything or anyone, just pitch black darkness. Terrified, I sprinted the rest of the way to my car and locked the doors as soon as I got inside. Believe me or not, I'm convinced that house is haunted. My dad still lives there, but he says he hasn't had any experiences like I did.
Shoot, your daddy might be into something. I can tell from that story, your daddy might be into something. That's why your dad's saying he ain't heard nothing, because at the end of the day, your dad might be got something going on. But yeah, y'all, that's it for this video. I remember when I was a kid, I had some pretty paranormal things happen to me. You know, I've said in previous videos, I used to live in front of a graveyard. And a long time ago, still to this day, I don't have an explanation of how this happened. When I was a kid, me and my brother, we had just came home from school. And I remember we had this trash can. If y'all remember the old trash cans that they used to have like in the early 90s and early 2000s. I mean, late 90s and early 2000s. They used to have these green trash cans where you put a top on them. And when you put the top on, you got to push it down real hard and let it click for it to lock on. A long time ago, me and my brother, we was coming downstairs I can't remember what we was doing, but we was getting ready to do something. And I never forget, I seen one of those trash tops pop off. I'm talking about literally pop off and go from on top of it to flipping off and hitting the ground like that. And still to this day, I have seen those trash cans. I don't really see them like that, but when I do see them, I always try to test it and see and try to like make sense of that. And still to this day, me and my brother, we don't know how that happened, and it literally happened out of nowhere. No, there was no pressure in the trash can. There wasn't much trash in the trash can. It just popped off. Ever since that day, I've always believed people when they said stuff about ghosts and paranormal things, because still to this day, I remember I seen that with my own two eyes, and still there is no way to possibly physically explain how something like that happens. So yeah, so if y'all enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see y'all in the next video. We will be doing some more reaction videos, but I wanted to ask y'all a question to the people who have made it this far in the video. Do y'all think I should remove my intro and my outro? If y'all can, either answer in the comments section or write me a DM on any of my social medias and let me know. Say, Jay, remove all that intro shit. You don't even need it. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for checking this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.